Okay, question 6. Question 6 says to solve by factoring. Now, if we see the word solve in the directions, that means we should end up with an x equals. We want to know the solutions. So question 6 gives us 4x squared minus 9 equals 0. Right away, I should be looking at that problem and realizing, hey, I have got perfect squares all over the place separated by a subtraction sign. So this is a great example of a difference of squares. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of 9 is 3. So we're going to end up with 2x minus 3. And we're going to end up with 2x plus 3 as our solutions. Now, we've been solving problems like these really since we started doing two-step equations. So if you had trouble with the factoring, you could have always said 4x squared minus 9 equals 0. Add 9 to both sides. So 4x squared is equal to 9. Divide by 4. And x squared is equal to 9/4. Take the square root of both sides, and x is equal to 3 over 2, or 3 halves. Sorry, plus or minus 3 over 2, or 3 halves. Now, that's an older way of being able to solve the exact same problem, or at least being able to solve the problem and checking your solution. This is the process by factoring, which is really what I'm looking to see on your paper. In order to solve after we have completed the square, we need to set each solution or each factor equal to 0. So 2x minus 3 equals 0, and 2x plus 3 equals 0. Where we'll subtract 3 and divide by 2, and so x will be equal to 3 halves. Sorry, we will add 3 and divide by 2. On the right side, we will subtract 3 and divide by 2, and so x will be equal to negative 3 halves. Now, notice we got the same solution by solving by factoring as we did by using our one-step, two-step equation rules. However, our directions said to solve by factoring, so that's the work that I need to show. There's no reason why you can't check your solution with a different method. Number 7, 16 minus 36x squared is equal to 0. So again, I see that I have perfect squares all over the place. So the square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 36 is 6. Square root of x squared is x. Now, I've got a lot of even numbers here, which means these could have been factored down a little bit more. So let's go ahead and factor everything down just a little bit more. So 36 and 16 appears to be divisible by 4. So let's go ahead and factor out a 4. 16 divided by 4 leaves me with 4 minus 36 divided by 4 gives me a 9. X squared equals 0. Now, I still have a difference of squares, but we're going to end up with a simplified factored solution, which is what we are instructed to do in this unit. So, square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 9 is 3. Square root of x squared is x. And since we are breaking down the difference of two squares, I need one of those solutions as positive. I need one of those solutions as negative. Now, despite the fact that 4 is a factor, it doesn't have an x in it to be a solution factor. So, the only solution factors that we need to deal with are the 2 plus 3x and the 2 minus 3x. We're going to set each equal to 0 and solve for x. 2 plus 3x equals 0. 2 minus 3x equals 0. So we'll subtract 2 from both sides and divide by 3. x will be equal to negative 2/3. On the right side, we will subtract 2x from both sides, and we will divide by negative 3, so x will be equal to 2/3. Question number 8. Negative 4x squared equals negative 4x minus 15. Now, we don't solve factors with terms on both sides of the equal sign, so we're going to move everything to one side. We'll add 4x, and we will add 15, and we can do this all in one step. What we do to one side of the equation, we must do the other. Add 4x and add 15. So we end up with a negative 4x squared is equal to, it's not equal to, plus 4x plus 15 is equal to 0. Well, now is a great time for our slip and slide. So the very first thing I want to do is, that's right, we're going to set up an x games, plugging in the x because we know we're going to need to divide something or split that middle term. So 15 times negative 4 is a negative 60. And we want our terms to add together to 4. All right. Well, that would look like a 6 and a 10, I'm guessing. I need the larger number positive, so 10 and negative 6 multiply together to give me negative 60. 10 and negative 6 add together to give me 4. So this is not our solution, but these are our terms that we're going to be using in grouping. So let's rewrite negative 4x squared plus 10x minus 6x plus 15 equals 0. Notice that my 10x and my negative 6x add up to positive 4x, so we really haven't changed the equation at all. We have just slipped the 4x out and slid in the 10x minus 6x. All right, now we can do some grouping. Since I'm grouping this negative sign, I'm going to go ahead and put an addition between it, so we know that that negative 6 is staying with the 6x. And we want to factor again. So on the left side, we have let's go with a negative 2 x. Negative 2 times positive 2 gives me a negative 4. 10 divided by negative 2 gives me a negative 5x. Oh, sorry, negative 5. On the opposite side, I need my leading term to be positive, so I'm going to divide out a negative 3. Negative 6x divided by negative 3 gives me a 2x. 15 divided by negative 3 gives me a minus 5. All right. My parentheses match each other, so that is one of my factors. And we take what's left in front of the parentheses, put it together for our other factor. All right, at this point we just need to identify our solutions. So we are going to set our factors equal to 0 so that we can get some solutions. 2x minus 5 equals 0. So we'll add 5 to both sides. 2x equals 5. divide by 2. So x is equal to 5 halves. On the right side, we have a negative 2x minus 3 equals 0. We'll add 3 to both sides, so negative 2x is equal to 3. And we'll divide by negative 2. So x is equal to negative 3 halves. And those will be our solutions, 5 halves and negative 3 halves. All right, last question, number 9. Last question is 4 terms. Well, just like the previous question where we slipped and slide, we created 4 terms and we grouped. We're going to have to group on this one. So we'll start off with putting parentheses around the groups we want to create. And I remember that these values are getting added here, so I'm going to go ahead and write in an addition sign to remind myself. And we want to find our GCF. Our GCF here will be x squared, which leaves me with an x plus 2. On the right side, we want to try to get this leading term positive, so negative 3x divided by what will leave with a positive x? That would be a negative 3, so we're factoring out a negative 3. Which leaves me with an x. Negative 6 divided by negative 3 gives me a positive 2. So again, I can see that I have got a common set of parenthesis values. That's one of our factors. The values in front of the parentheses become my other factors. All right, we set each factor equal to 0 and solve. X plus 2 is equal to 0, so x is equal to negative 2. X squared minus 3 is equal to 0, so x squared is equal to 3. Or we can take the square root of both sides, and x is equal to plus or minus root 3. So we have an x of negative 2, and we have an x of plus or minus root 3.